Hello lads, lassies, and those of unspecified gender, it's the Irishman here, and today I'm going to be talking about what would have happened if Goku married Bulma. Now, in original Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z or GT or Super, no fancy words in front of it, just Dragon Ball, we got to see the adventures of Goku and Bulma. Now, more so Goku, as he is really the main character of the Dragon Ball franchise, as well as probably the most important character since it all focuses around him, but Bulma is also incredibly important as well as sort of a supporting main character in OG Dragon Ball. And they did kind of have a will they won't they thing between Goku and Bulma. So what if we chose to go with will they instead of won't they? What if Goku married Bulma? And without wasting any more time, let's get into the story of this what if. Now, like I said in the intro, we don't actually need to do much to start this story off. Goku and Bulma already had a budding romance in OG Dragon Ball, so all that we really need to do now is have Bulma decide that she wants to pursue that passion, and have Goku basically just be his dumb lovable self, although not promise to marry Chi-Chi, instead opting to just ignore the question, or maybe, since we are the ones writing this story, just not have her ask it. It's a pretty weird thing for an 11-year-old to be talking about anyways, so yeah, she just doesn't say it. Now, the first decent change to this story would actually be Goku's wedding. It'd be a far nicer wedding than what we saw with him and Chi-Chi. Yes, it would probably be very nice at Goku and Chi-Chi's wedding. Chi-Chi was still rich because of inheritance from the Ox King, and really I don't think the Ox King would pull any punches with their wedding, but in terms of how hard these punches are, metaphorically speaking, Dr. Briefs, Bulma's father, would punch far harder. The Briefs family is the richest family in the entire world. Goku's wedding here would be insane. It would have everything that you could possibly imagine at the perfect wedding, because Dr. Briefs is going to provide for his daughter. That's his baby girl, after all. She wants to get married to some hillbilly. Well, he's going to make sure that is the nicest hillbilly wedding to ever happen. Well, the next point to bring up, logically, in this what-if timeline, is baby Trunks. Or should we say Gohan? Well, honestly, I feel like they look more like Trunks, but probably still be named Gohan, seeing as Gohan would still probably be the name Goku would want to choose. And after Bulma hears the reasoning for this name, well, she just can't help but agree. Not only is it absolutely adorable, but it's also just so sentimental and nice. She wasn't expecting something so sort of wholesome from Goku. Yeah, sure, he can be silly and goofy at times, but this is just really sweet and sincere. Bulma's going to go with it, but once they have another kid, which I guarantee you they will, she gets to name it, and she's going to name it Trunks. Well, whether it's a boy or a girl, the name fits, and she just likes it, you know? It fits her family name puns. Bulma, Bra, Briefs, it all just kind of fits. And she wants to use it. She's been waiting to use it for a while now. It just so happens Goku had a better name, so she gets to use it on her next kid. Now, prior to being able to talk about everything that happens with Raditz and Kame House, a very useful thing we definitely need to bring up is Goku's training over this time period. Now, honestly, I didn't expect to say much other than Goku trains a bit more because Bulma would be less strict with this sort of thing. But as someone conveniently pointed out in the comments of the post I first mentioned this topic in, he would have access to gravity training before Raditz even arrives on Earth. Does this mean that he reaches his Ginyu Saga power level? Yes. Do I hate it? Also, yes, I did not want to make a story with an overpowered character here. I wanted to keep it somewhat on track, but there Goku goes, getting super strong really quickly. And you want to know the worst part? He reached that power level in the first 6 or 7 days. And he has 365 times 5, actually no, times 6, before he would even canonically reach that strength. So, you know, that's pretty neat. So what happens when Raditz actually arrives on Earth? Well, I doubt he'd actually go to Kame House here, mostly because I don't feel like there'd be a Kame House reunion. It's not like with Chi-Chi and Goku, where they went out and lived on Mount Paozu for 5 years, basically in seclusion. No, Bulma and Goku would keep in regular contact with everybody at Kame House, so there'd be no real need for a reunion there. Now when it comes to Raditz's actual arrival on Earth, I don't see too much changing for the beginning stages. He would still have that little bit with the farmer and the shotgun where he throws his bullet back to him even faster and harder than the gun could've, and then Raditz would talk to Piccolo, saying, "Hey, you're quite a wee bit strong, but sadly you're incredibly weak actually, and I just gaslit you." Then he would fly over to Capsule Corp and, well, quite frankly, he'd have the same interaction as he did with Goku at Kame House. Only until Goku powers up and shows that scouters are non-reliable. Raditz would be dumbfounded as Goku's power level would soar up past even the 10,000 range before his scouter then explodes. Goku is incredibly powerful here, and 10,000 was just kind of a way for Raditz to see, well, that guy is way out of my league. Now, the way I see it, any time that Raditz is encountered with a Goku who has a power level in the 5-digit range, that means Raditz is going to turn good out of fear, tucking his tail between his legs and either fleeing or staying on Earth with the rest of the Z-Gang, eventually turning into a generally good person. Although here I want to twist it up a bit. Let's say Raditz, having only seen Goku's power level rise to about 10,000, would decide he might be able to take Goku on in his Great Ape form. Seeing as Goku doesn't have a tail, Raditz should be able to do this. He would then create an artificial moon and power up into Great Ape, utilizing his power level of 1.5 thousand, then being multiplied by 10 to bring him up to 15,000, which should bring him above his brother's strength, right? Wrong. Goku could very easily take Raditz out here, as his true power level would probably be around the 50 million range. Keep in mind, this is a Goku who has been training for 5 years, and has been using gravity training during those 5 years, and would basically never hit his ceiling in terms of enhanced gravity, as Bulma could just adjust the machine to go even higher and higher, therefore allowing Goku to constantly break his limits. Yeah, Goku's pretty OP here. But you wanna know who's also pretty overpowered? Gohan. And he just turned into a Great Ape because Gohan would still have his tail. So now we get to see Gohan, who has also been doing gravity training for the last year or so, once he was actually able to sustain a gravity higher than that of Earth's, and actually, walk regularly without gravity. He was training. Now in the Great Ape form, yeah, he's kind of a rampaging monster. Goku could still take him out, but he wants to see how Gohan could fare against Raditz, especially if he's able to control this Great Ape form. And surprise surprise, Gohan's kind of a berserker at first, although he's able to get control over it relatively quickly actually, as I personally believe the stronger you are, the more adept or more easily able you are to gain control over the Great Ape form. Granted, Raditz here would have good control over the form, only because I feel like it's something Raditz would try and master, that way he can utilize it more effectively. Gohan, on the other hand, would just master it through brute force. Now we have a giant Great Ape battle, except one is far stronger than the other. Gohan easily beats Raditz, and by accident, because of the trumped up bloodlust, would kill his uncle. Although, Raditz was kind of a horrible person anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Although, once they actually go and check out Raditz's spaceship, they would see that there are scouter transmissions coming to Raditz. Vegeta and Nappa saying that they will be there in 1 year's time. That way they can finally reclaim their Saiyan glory and take out the person that killed Raditz, as well as getting those Dragon Ball things, because in one way or another, I feel like Goku would slip up and mention them. This is Goku after all, and the Dragon Balls are the name of the show, so it's bound to be brought up sooner or later. But just to keep this story interesting, let's say that it just so happens that Frieza was listening at the perfect time. He was able to hear through Raditz's scouter transmissions that the Dragon Balls are a real thing. He had his speculations beforehand, but now getting confirmation that they really exist? Ooh, this is definitely interesting. If they exist on Earth with one Namekian there to actually create them, then they would have to exist on Namek, where there is a surge of Namekians there who could probably whip up hundreds of sets of Dragon Balls. Oh, Frieza can't wait. He's going to get his immortality, and maybe then he can be the eternal ruler of the universe. Ooh, dreams in the making. So many possibilities, but we're going to have to wait on some of those until the next part. After 1 year's worth of training, Goku and Gohan would consider themselves prepared enough to face the Saiyans. Now, where would Piccolo be during all of this training? Well, he'd actually be at King Kai's. Seeing as nobody else really had the opportunity to go, Kami would approach Piccolo suggesting he do this. Now, King Kai never really seemed like he cared about morality, at least not an awful lot. Yeah, sure, he didn't like people like Frieza, but if it's someone who's morally neutral like Piccolo, at least at this point, I feel like King Kai'd be willing to take him in. So Kami would approach Piccolo telling him that he has a way to possibly have Piccolo even surpass the likes of Goku, his longtime rival. Piccolo would of course ask why Kami would want to do this, seeing as he is still the Demon King's reincarnation, although Kami would retort by saying he believes Piccolo has potential to be a whole lot more than his father. In fact, he's already far stronger than what his father was, and far more kind-hearted. And although he takes that second part with a grain of salt, Piccolo would still agree. Now, Kami would be asking a much bigger favor of King Yeba here, but seeing as the stakes are just as high as in the original, he would allow Piccolo to cross Snake Way. And once arriving on King Kai's planet, a few months had already passed, but Piccolo has already gotten a bit stronger from his Snake Way training, so it doesn't really matter. Now, of course, Piccolo would still have a hard time adjusting to the harsher climate and gravity of King Kai's planet, but hey, it doesn't really matter. If Goku is able to do it, Piccolo should be too. And Piccolo would actually have a much easier time using Kaioken, and that's one of the first things he learns. Although King Kai would mostly focus on getting him to learn the Spirit Bomb. It's a way to kind of make sure Piccolo's morality is in check. If he's able to use the Spirit Bomb, then he's able to be a good person. So, King Kai would teach it to him. And although he is much more efficient with Kaioken, he's actually able to learn the Spirit Bomb technique, and use it somewhat proficiently. Piccolo's a fast learner, but the morality issue was, well, a bigger issue for him. He's still able to conquer it though, and activate the technique with relative ease, being able to gather energy from basically whatever source he needs. He's not exactly a good person yet, but he's definitely on his way, and being able to use the Spirit Bomb is definitely a step in the right direction. Now, although the metaphorical journey of becoming a good person would be one that Piccolo would have a lot of progress on, his physical journey in terms of power and actually surpassing Goku is one he makes even bigger strides in. See, although Piccolo would not be able to get up to Goku's 50 million power level, he would be able to get somewhat close, getting up to 1 million. Having that goal marker of Goku's strength definitely help him, as well as a higher starting power. Piccolo would also have Kaioken, which he can use to absurd levels because of his Namekian regeneration. This is incredible for the Namekian warrior, and he is more than pumped up to test his mettle against Goku's, although Goku has actually gotten even stronger than what he was before. He's not going to see the same leaps he got in part 1 from a power level of around 600 to 50 million, as gravity training is only so effective until, much like Zenkai's, it sort of wears itself out. That's not to say he doesn't get stronger, he probably most definitely would, probably getting up to around 60 million, but he would definitely be spending more time on technique-based growth as well as training Gohan, as he realizes he's kind of hit a wall in terms of physical ability. Now Goku, while training Gohan, would realize his son has insane potential, as well as incredible rage, which if he could hone, he'd be unstoppable. Now, Gohan has a bit of a tough time actually accessing all of his power, although I don't think he'd have the same mental limiters he would in the original. See, Gohan had insane power. You might wonder why Goten and Trunks had such an easy time accessing Super Saiyan while Gohan didn't. Well, that's because Gohan sets limits for himself. If Gohan didn't set these limits, he'd be able to access Super Saiyan at half the age Goten or Trunks did. He just couldn't because he was limiting himself in terms of mental accessibility to his power. Here, however, he wouldn't have those same limiters. He would definitely have some, but definitely not the same. He wouldn't be able to access Super Saiyan here, but he would definitely be able to grow as well as get far stronger than what he was before. And I honestly see both Goku and Gohan gaining access to the Akari form through straight brute force. It's not like either of them had a hard time utilizing Great Ape. Goku didn't have much control, but if he could use it now, he probably would. Gohan's definitely the first person who would access the Akari form though, since he still has a tail and still has access to the Great Ape form, as well as gaining control over it last time he used it. Now with Gohan having Akari, Goku would learn the same thing, and then the two would grow exponentially through this training. Not so much in power, at least for Goku, as I said, he's kind of hit a wall, but Gohan, well, he'd be able to reach a power level of around 45 million, which is, well, just absolutely incredible. Although, Goku and Gohan weren't the only people increasing, and I'm not talking about Piccolo, I'm talking about Frieza. See, Nappa and Vegeta wouldn't have any differences in their journey to Earth. As far as they know, they're going there to kill Goku and his brat, and then collect the Dragon Balls. Although, little do they know, during this 1-year time skip while they're trying to get to Earth, Frieza has already gone to Namek, and is currently grabbing the Dragon Balls there. He hasn't found all of them just yet, but by the time any of them actually were to get to Namek, if they even tried to, Frieza would have already gotten his wish. So, just keep that in the back of your head. But now that we have everything figured out for what everyone would be doing during the 1 year, the 1 year would pass, and Nappa and Vegeta would arrive on the planet, looking for the two Saiyans that killed their beloved teammate. Just kidding, they're looking for the Dragon Balls, but yeah, avenging Raditz would be pretty fun. And once Goku and Gohan actually arrive on the battlefield, having sensed an entire city being wiped out, so much loss of life as well as a slight power surge from Nappa, they'd be able to detect that and fly over. Goku and Gohan are genuinely surprised at how unimpressive Raditz and Nappa's power levels are. Vegeta and Nappa, my bad. It's not like they're anything to them though. Vegeta might as well be Raditz because no matter how strong the two of them are, at least in their own rights, Goku and Gohan are leagues and leagues ahead. The father and son duo would power up slightly when Nappa goes to check their power level with his own scouter, as he would still have it on, and his scouter would explode on his head, causing him some minor damages, but it's nothing, the lug will continue to carry on. Although it did still hurt. Now, that's besides the point. It doesn't matter how much that hurt, as taking a hit from either Goku or Gohan would be deadly. That's all the scouter really proved. Vegeta wouldn't want to do the same, realizing that these two must be the real deal. Not wanting to waste any time, Vegeta would go to create a Power Ball. Although Gohan, not wanting to risk the safety of the Earth, would shoot a blast at the Power Ball, blowing it up and causing Vegeta to not even begin to transform. This would mean that Vegeta and Nappa are seemingly all out of options. Although, not wanting to actually lose hope yet, Vegeta would rush at Gohan, wanting to get payback for what happened and him thwarting his plan, although Gohan would easily be able to avoid the attack and then counter with his own, chopping Vegeta on the back of the neck, knocking him out. Nappa, not being the brightest light bulb in the bunch, would try and attack Goku, thinking that his son just hurt the prince, how dare him, blah blah blah, and then, yeah, Nappa would suffer the same fate as the prince, not being killed, but being knocked unconscious. Now, this is a curious situation. What are they supposed to do with the Saiyans? Goku doesn't really feel like it's right to kill them, but at the same time, they are a threat to the Earth, and there's no real point keeping them alive. They weren't very strong, and they wouldn't really be a good fight, and, well, they probably do deserve to die. While they're beginning to actually debate whether or not they should kill them, they would hear a transmission from Vegeta's still active scouter. He would have thrown it on the ground, but he wouldn't have actually broken it. He would walk over to the scouter and pick it up. Goku would listen in and then hear something from Frieza, whoever that is. Something about him going to Namek and getting the Dragon Balls. Actually, he already got them, and he just became immortal. Oh, that's not good. Now, they're not really sure who Frieza is, although Goku would vaguely remember Raditz saying something about him. And if he's anything like Vegeta or Nappa, well, this could bring up some problems. As the gang is discussing what all they should do, Vegeta would begin to wake up. Stammering to his feet, although falling back down to his knees, he would crawl over and grab his scouter, coughing up some blood, and beginning to talk directly to Frieza. He would say into the scouter,
"The Super Saiyan has been born, and he will bring about your end."
He would then fall back into unconsciousness, although this time he would die from his injuries. In case you're wondering how Vegeta would actually get this damaged from a simple neck chop, it's a bit more than that. You have to remember, they're in an extremely rocky terrain, as well as a mountain region. If Vegeta were to get hit on the back of the neck by someone as powerful as Gohan, he would likely fall to the ground extremely quickly, and say he were to land on some pretty sharp rocks, well, that could end up doing some serious damage. And here it actually would. Plus, Vegeta wouldn't actually have much energy left. Seeing as he was hit in the back of the neck, there's a good chance he wouldn't be able to breathe. And if you're not able to breathe, you're not able to live. So here, after waking up for a brief moment and actually taking a few breaths, well, he exerted all of his energy and would die from his injuries. Now, yes, I do love Vegeta, and I would love to keep him alive in this scenario, although he wouldn't serve much of a purpose. It'd be hard for him to actually climb back through the ranks and get to the level of Goku or Gohan, and I doubt he'd actually be able to. Plus, here, Vegeta wouldn't be able to end up with Bulma, and that would provide a pretty awkward scenario for how he would end up actually serving most of his free time. And if you're wondering if I'll keep Nappa alive, I probably won't. Gohan was weaker than his father, and Raditz, or Nappa, sorry, I still get all these names confused sometimes, would actually be quite a bit weaker than Vegeta. So taking a harder hit and you're a weaker person tends to mean you suffer worse injuries than the person who is stronger than you and was hit by a weaker person, therefore meaning Nappa would die as well. Now, although Goku and Gohan would definitely want to help out the universe and stop Frieza, they don't really think they can. It's not like they have any problem with power or anything, it's just that they don't really have a way to get to Frieza. They don't know where he is or where he's going, and it's likely he has a much faster space travel technology. So there's no real way for them to get to him or track him down. If he comes to Earth, they'll deal with him, but for now, there's no real point trying to seek him out. It's a fruitless venture, and not even one they really want to go on. So what is there left to do? Well, honestly, Goku's main priority at the moment is having a rematch with Piccolo, and his Namekian rival is more than willing enough to oblige him in that request. The two would have an all-out match, Goku in his base form versus Piccolo and Kaioken times 60. And although this is taxing, it's not actually too much for the green guy to deal with. It's actually not too much at all. Although this would be pretty hard for someone with no regeneration to handle, for him, it's nothing really at all. Then Goku would power up into Akari, and then Piccolo would power up into Kaioken times 200. This is a bit much. It's about as much as what Kaioken times 5 would be for Namek Saga Goku, although if you remember, Namek Saga Goku was able to go into Kaioken times 20. So Piccolo would pump it up to Kaioken times 600, although he would only use that in short bursts, as it is extremely physically taxing to his body, much like Kaioken times 20 was for Goku on Namek. And although Goku's higher physical power is enough to give him the edge for a great long while, Piccolo would actually use the Spirit Bomb, something showing his enhanced morality, and from gathering energy from basically everywhere, Piccolo would absorb it into himself, and then go Kaioken times 1000, being enhanced by the power of Spirit Namekian, as well as his insane Kaioken multiplier, Goku would actually be put to his utmost limit, and actually break the Super Saiyan barrier, gaining access to the legendary form. The two of them would then fight on even playing fields until eventually they would both exhaust themselves, falling back into their base forms lying next to each other. Although Piccolo's body is extremely sore and Goku is almost entirely out of energy, the two of them would still muster up the strength to stand up and land a hit that would barely connect on the other's cheek. They would then fall down again and begin to laugh, realizing that they've went from mortal enemies to at least somewhat decent sparring partners. Dare I even say friends. 5 years have passed since the events of the Saiyan Saga. Everyone has gotten incredibly more powerful, as well as having fought many times. Goku and Piccolo would have regular sparring sessions, testing their strength against one another, although eventually this peacetime would be broken by the attack of the androids. Now, since there wouldn't be a future timeline, since there is no Trunks and the androids weren't a big enough threat to actually mean timelines have to be separated, well, we do still get 1718 attacking West City instead of Dr. Gero and Android 19. This means that everything goes a bit smoother, funnily enough, as Dr. Gero and Android 19 were hell-bent on causing destruction. The twins were mostly just focused on having a good time. Now, this sometimes did include destruction, but it wasn't their main focus. Goku and Piccolo, after arriving on the scene, hearing the screams of terror and people in danger, well, they'd easily be able to dispatch of 1718. If they decide to actually keep them alive, 1718 would change the morality like they did in the original story. Although here, I really don't see it mattering all too much. 1718 would barely even be able to hold a candle to the strength of Super Saiyan Goku and Kaioken Piccolo. Seeing as in their base forms alone, they should be roughly comparable to Final Form Frieza, something that neither Goku nor Vegeta were able to achieve until the Age of Super. Base Goku and Vegeta, at least in Battle of Gods, should only be at a power level roughly at 60 million. Goku here is twice that, at least, after years of training with Piccolo, after a starting power of where Goku was in Battle of Gods. So here, Goku in Super Saiyan is just a completely different threat than he was in the Android Saga, making the androids no real threat at all. Now, if you're wondering about Cell, I feel like they would investigate the lab and probably find Cell. What they choose to do from there either concludes with Bulma rehabilitating him or him just being destroyed. Because I don't want to add him into the story without giving him much purpose, I made that mistake in my What If Goku Married Android 18 video, we're just going to say that he was destroyed. It's sad, but ultimately it was the smart choice. Now, with another threat to Earth being taken care of with relative ease, Goku would be a bit melancholy, or as most would say, melancholy. The reason is that he hasn't really faced any genuine threats, or at least any powerful people aside from himself, his son, and Piccolo. Granted, sparring with Piccolo is fun and all, he definitely gets his blood pumping, but honestly, it's just not as fun as Vegeta was for him in the original story, another Saiyan who would get Goku to push beyond his limits. Piccolo did that, just not the same. And it's not like there were new threats popping up left and right that would actually push Goku to unlock some new form or hidden power. It was just kind of same old, same old. Eventually Goku would get bored and decide he wants to go hunt down Frieza. Maybe he could provide that proper challenge. At the very least, he'd be saving the universe from a whole lot of turmoil. Now, as much as Bulma would absolutely love to tag along on this journey, seriously, she'd love to go out and see space, she can't because she currently has a 3-year-old practically attached to her hip. Trunks would have been born much earlier at this point, and although this kinda sucks for Bulma, she would have Gohan go along instead, as Gohan is just as interested in technology and space travel as she is. Remembering Gohan from the original story, I feel like Gohan would want to be whatever Bulma would want him to be, and since Bulma just kinda wants him to be whatever he wants to be, he would take after her. And although Gohan definitely takes after his mother, he would also take after his father quite a bit, possibly even a bit more, especially more than Gohan in the original does. Bulma wouldn't be as forceful with her approach of raising Gohan, so he'd have a lot of more room to breathe. And although this does still mean he would probably take after her, he would definitely look to Goku as a very big role model, someone that he wants to be just like. Similar to Gohan from the future timeline. He wants to be just like his father and make him proud. And although Goku is already incredibly proud of his son, he would still decide that he wants to go along with Goku on the expedition, or the adventure to go defeat Frieza. Gohan is more than eager to tag along, and Goku is more than willing to let him. So the two would head off into space in search of Frieza. And after a while and a lot of asking around, people would guide him in the right direction. Although they don't really think it's the right direction, as anybody has to be a goddamn fool if they think they can actually beat Frieza. But little did they know who they're talking to. Goku is a goddamn fool. But he's also strong enough to beat Frieza, so it's not entirely stupid. And after a while of searching around aimlessly in space, they would actually stumble upon Frieza Planet 1, having been given the general direction of where to look. Then after arriving on the planet, they would be faced with an army of Frieza soldiers, as well as the Ginyu Force. Frieza, after hearing of murmurs, people searching for him, trying to take him out, he would assemble a small group of people, as well as the Ginyu Force itself, to actually take out anybody that might try and enter the orbit of his homeworld. And, little did he know, this wouldn't even be close to enough. Goku and Gohan on their own, while just in base form, would be able to easily take out every one of his soldiers. Although using this as not only a warm-up, but also a chance to break in some new techniques, Goku would attempt to use Kaioken while fighting, as well as gathering energy from surrounding opponents and forming a spirit bomb out of it. It was something he was only marginally interested in, but hey, King Kai had some pretty cool moves and Goku does kinda want to learn them. Kaioken is pretty hard to use, but it's definitely usable, and Goku is able to use it more efficiently than he was able to in the original, seeing as he has a much stronger and much more durable body. But needless to say, all of the Frieza soldiers are absolutely annihilated. Ginyu would attempt to switch bodies with Goku, but the Saiyan here is just far too fast, and no matter what Ginyu's attack is, Goku's not looking to take it head on. So he would just obliterate the rest of the Ginyu Force, and then move on to the main course, Frieza himself. Now, don't think that Gohan is entirely cut out of the action, as King Cold was there as well, so Gohan does have his share of battle. After a long while of fighting, both Goku and Gohan would begin to realize, hey, these guys are stronger than they had expected. That's because both Frieza and Cold, now having been immortalized, yes, I do feel like King Cold would also be gifted immortality, well, they would continue training. They would realize there are people out there who would actually contest their rule, such as the Super Saiyan or Majin Buu and Beerus, and if they want to actually be able to rule over the universe forever, then they're going to have to make sure that nobody is able to get in their way, at least in terms of power. So they would continue doing training. Nothing severe, it's not like they have to go all out in training every day, they have a long while to increase. Basically forever. So they would do some slight training here and there every few days. And that's just enough to push them to be able to give Goku and Gohan a proper challenge. Final Form Frieza is actually a bit much for Super Saiyan Goku, but they sort of even out. Super Saiyan Gohan vs King Cold is a bit different, only because I believe that Frieza has more potential than his father. Not by a lot, seeing as they're both probably mutants for their race. If there was an entire race of people as strong as Frieza, we would have definitely heard about it, but I feel like Frieza is just a bit more of a mutant, or at least has higher potential in terms of mutant strength. So he is still stronger than his father, and Gohan is weaker than his father, so it only makes sense that Gohan would fight the weaker opponent. given the fact he is weaker as well as also being a child. So Gohan does have an easier time, but it kind of evens out since, again, he's kind of just now becoming a teenager. He shouldn't be pushed to the brink of death just for fun, at least not right now. I'm not exactly going to give Frieza any flashy new transformations here, as I don't think he'd even see a need for it. It's not like Frieza actually created his transformations as ways to increase his power, no. His final form is his true form. The only reason he ever created any other forms was to suppress his power. Here, he would probably see himself, much like Cell, as the perfect being, so there'd be no need to increase on what's already complete. Now, granted, I do feel like in the future he would still probably get the idea to create more forms, but right now at least, there's no real need for it. He hasn't been pushed to that point. But Goku here would push him far beyond that point. It's not like he actually needs to create any new forms in battle or anything, but he definitely needs to find a way out of this stressful situation. Goku is rapidly becoming stronger as the fight goes on, while Frieza is doing the same, but not to the same extent. He's not a Saiyan, he doesn't relish in battle, and he's not like Goku where he hasn't had a proper challenge in literal decades. No, here, Frieza is just the ruler of the universe. He was perfectly content not being challenged. Goku is growing stronger and stronger the more the fight goes on, the more his Saiyan blood pumps. Frieza, although, would have a distinct advantage in this battle. The fact he's immortal. So he would exploit this advantage by creating a large explosion using himself as the bomb, which, much like Majin Vegeta, would take him out, although he would regenerate from this, much unlike Majin Vegeta. Goku, on the other hand, is still pretty injured from the attack. He might have gotten stronger than Frieza during the fight, but not so much stronger that that sort of attack could just be shrugged off. No, he'd realize he has to get out of the battle quick, or else he could potentially suffer fatal injuries. But little did Frieza know, Goku had a way around fatal injuries. Senzu beans. Yeah, sure, Frieza's immortal, but does he have Senzu beans? No. Granted, yes, being immortal, better than Senzu beans, because you can run out of Senzu beans, can't run out of immortality, but still, Frieza doesn't have Zenkais, so Goku's getting to the point now where that sort of attack might not affect him again. So Frieza has to find a way to end this quick. He goes for a killing blow on Goku, piercing his chest with a death beam, and as Goku's body hits the ground limp, well, Frieza wins. But little did he know, this would not be a victory he'd be able to relish in. As the lizard turns around to face his father, that way he can assist him in battle as well as gloat to the child that his father is now dead, Gohan already saw it all go down. He would begin to burst with rage and enter a new transformation. Not Super Saiyan 2, not Super Saiyan 3, not any godly forms, but instead, one we have only seen an alternate version of himself attain. And I don't mean an alternate version of Gohan, I mean an alternate version of Trunks. Gohan powering up would enter Super Saiyan Rage, looking at Frieza with a death stare, only reminiscent of what Goku had on Namek. Frieza's soul would shatter. Goku might have been a Super Saiyan, but this child was the legendary Super Saiyan. What is this power? How did he get so strong? He saw me kill his father. I shouldn't have given him this strength. Is he the legendary Super Saiyan? Father, you were the one fighting him. What do you make of this? Cunning as always, Father. I think there's only one way we can beat him. We must combine our strength. But do you even think that will be enough? I'll save you the trouble. It won't. I'm going to kill both of you right here. Your power combined couldn't even compare to mine, even tenfold. You will die here and now at my hands. I will avenge my race. You You want to avenge your race? Do you want to know something about your race, boy? They were nothing but battle-hungry, war-torn savages. It was either them or the rest of the universe. You can't blame me for saving billions, possibly trillions of lives. You already met Vegeta and Nappa, and you took them out on your own, without a care in the world. Don't you dare talk to me about killing your race. You finished them off. You sealed the deal. Gohan would think about this for a moment, contemplating if this was true. But at the same time, Frieza just killed his father, the last remaining Saiyan, or at least full-blooded Saiyan. So, Gohan, still with his spirit vengeful, would stare down Frieza once again, with his soulless, white eyes. As much as I want to kill you, as much as I want to do the universe a favor in that one thing, I know, deep in my heart, I don't want any blood on my hands. I'm going to go. I'm going to leave here. And if I ever hear of you hurting another soul, I will come back here, and I will kill you. And as for your father, there's no redeeming him. Call this an eye for an eye. Kamehameha! Congratulations, Runt. You've gotten your revenge. Now leave. Don't return. And please, I beg of you, don't kill me or any of my subordinates. Oh, Frieza. We both know I couldn't kill you even if I wanted to. But, like I said, I'm not exactly the killer type, despite what I had to do to your father. That was a message. Make sure to read it well. And if you ever come after me or my family ever again, I'm not giving you another chance. Oh, don't be concerned, monkey. I only need the one. Die, Super Saiyan! Frieza would say, shooting a death ball straight at Gohan, who would just reflect it with ease. Then, standing tall in front of Frieza, he would power up his ki using a full power Ma Senko to obliterate the Emperor. Although, as you might suspect, he would regenerate. But Gohan would continue firing his blast, over and over and over, until eventually Frieza's body just can't regenerate anymore, although it would still exist as he is immortal and would begin bonding with the sky itself. The entire planet, no, the entire galaxy is beginning to be overtaken by Frieza's very being. And then, as this merging continues, it would all come to a stop with one single word. Hakai! As Gohan is watching this all unfold, Beerus and Whis would arrive on the surface of the planet and begin talking with Gohan, getting the briefing of everything that happened. Beerus would thank Gohan for being such a considerate young man and taking care of that Frieza guy. He was such a pain in the neck, you know, and Gohan would shruggishly agree. Talking about an intergalactic terrorist and calling it a pain in the neck seems like a bit of minimizing, but Gohan isn't anyone to judge. It's kind of strange to him how Beerus was able to come in and handle Frieza so easily. Yeah, sure, Gohan was basically doing the same thing, but Beerus did just kill an immortal. And, of course, the God of Destruction would say that his immortality was greatly exaggerated. Frieza got it from the Namekian dragonballs, which are powerful, but not as powerful as a God of Destruction. Maybe if it was the Super Dragon Balls, he would have had a hard time actually erasing Frieza, but just the old Namekian things? Nah, that's easy. Beerus would, however, question about Gohan's form. It seems incredibly powerful, nothing compared to the God himself, but certainly strong. He would ask how Gohan acquired it, and he would speak of how his father died in front of him, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. He was utterly powerless, and he vowed to never have that happen again, thus unlocking the Super Saiyan Rage form. And then he proceeded to murder Frieza multiple times, just couldn't actually fully scratch that itch. Once again, immortality. Beerus will look at the aura. It feels godly, but it's not. There's no real God Ki inside of it, despite the fact it does look like a Super Saiyan Blue aura, then coated by Super Saiyans. That's just not what it is. It's certainly cool, Super Saiyan Rage is awesome, but it's just not godly, so although Beerus is interested, not as much as he would be if it was, say, Super Saiyan God or Blue. Although, Beerus is still very interested in this power. Keep in mind, Gohan here is actually far stronger than Super Saiyan 3 Goku in Battle of Gods, by a pretty large extent. Gohan's base form is roughly twice what Goku's was in Battle of Gods, and Goku is using a weaker form when he fights Beerus. Gohan here is utilizing Super Saiyan Rage, something that pushed Trunks to actually be able to contest with Fuse Zamasu, which is incredible, but still not enough to actually face Beerus, especially when someone who is weaker than future Trunks is using it, although it is still an incredible form and still an incredible power that Gohan wields. Let's say the multiplier for it is around 10,000. That's around half what I usually use for Super Saiyan God, so Beerus would still be incredibly entertained, actually getting to have somewhat of a fair fight with him, although Gohan wouldn't be rapidly increasing as much as Goku was. Yeah, Gohan is getting used to a new form, but Goku is getting used to an entirely new realm of strength. So, needless to say, Gohan is still pretty outmatched, but Beerus wants to see how far he can push the kid, so he would continue fighting, eventually saying that if Gohan doesn't actually show his true power, if he doesn't impress the Cat God, then he might as well just go to Earth and see if someone there will. And if they can't, then he'll just destroy the planet. This would enrage Gohan, letting him briefly power up with some lightning circling around him. That's interesting. Beerus would utilize this rage and push Gohan even further, saying that if his dad's already dead, might as well reunite the couple and kill his mother too. This would push Gohan to the breaking point. Black lightning would circle around him, as he would then enter Super Saiyan Rage 2. A completely custom form, but hey, if we're going to be evolving Gohan in a certain way here, we might as well have some fun with it. This evolution to Super Saiyan Rage would basically just be Super Saiyan Rage, but to the second level. Think what happened with Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2. A 2 times increase, but that's definitely still impressive. This would mean that Gohan not only has a stronger base power than Goku did, but an equal form. So, he is actually impressing Beerus more than Super Saiyan God Goku did. In fact, Gohan, by the end of their fight, is actually stronger than Super Saiyan God Goku was in his fight against Beerus. Because a stronger base power while still training with the God of Destruction, no matter what form you're utilizing, God key or not, you're still going to get incredibly powerful. Beerus would push Gohan to the brink and allow him to break his limits multiple times over. Now, Gohan is actually enjoying the fight. He'd realized Beerus was bluffing just to pull out more power, and this would allow him to not take it so seriously, getting a bit laid back while still focusing on fighting. This would allow him to move almost on his own. He's not activating Ultra Instinct, but he's beginning to learn the basics of the fighting style at least. This would impress both Beerus and Whis. Gohan, a mere mortal, was utilizing the fighting style of the Angels. He was relaxed, yet he was focused. He's not actually utilizing Ultra Instinct. I feel like I have to preface that because people will get mad at me in the comments for making Gohan too overpowered. He would not be utilizing Ultra Instinct in any sort of way. He would just be utilizing a fighting style similar. He would realize he doesn't have to rely on his rage to fight, but the rage is still coursing through him. He'd be able to kind of find this perfect balance between rage and relaxation, allowing him to fight strategically while also being a bit more laid back and not so focused that it distracts him. So Gohan is fighting quite effectively against Beerus. Although, as we know, the Cat God is still only using a fraction of his power, so he would easy neck chop Gohan and knock him to the ground. But Whis would actually suggest training the child, making him Beerus' perfect rival. Little did Whis know, that was already Beerus' plan, and his training would commence at once. Well, not at once, as they do still have a few more things to do before they're actually able to. First, ask Gohan. Second, see if there's any other preparations he needs, getting his affairs in order, before he can come and train on the God's planet. Knowing that he isn't in Beerus' good graces yet, Gohan would only have 3 requests. The first being, under no circumstances can he destroy anyone or anything on Earth unless they are a threat to the planet.
And although Beerus is a bit reluctant to this, he really does want to have Gohan as a student, so he makes the promise. Plus, if push came to shove, he can just destroy Gohan too. He's not above breaking promises, but he really doesn't want to do that, so he probably won't. The second request is to revive the Namekians, and that's as easy as 1, 2, 3, as Piccolo would gather the Dragon Balls and revive Planet Namek as well as the people on it. This would be through King Kai telling him that, hey, this really strong destroyer guy wants you to do this, so do it or you die. That's kind of the only two options here. And Piccolo would do this as he doesn't want to die. Then on Namek, Gohan would gather the Dragon Balls and revive his father. Onto the third and final request, Gohan would want to have Goku train there with him, as well as being able to go back and forth to Earth whenever they please. And Beerus, knowing that Whis can basically go anywhere he wants, he's basically just their taxi, he would agree. Now, with everything sorted out, Goku and Gohan would begin training on Beerus' planet together. It wouldn't take them long to access God Ki, and after a while, Goku would attain Super Saiyan God. Gohan would master his Super Saiyan Rage forms, and they would kind of go down their own paths at this point. Gohan wanting to see how much he can evolve his line of power, while Goku goes down a new one, a more godly route. And now, with the two strongest Saiyans in the universe being even stronger, it seems like peacetime is going to last forever. But, as we all know, peace is not eternal in Dragon Ball. The only thing that is ever certain is there will always be a new, bigger, and badder threat to come. And that is so very true after the 7-year time skip, although here it'd be more like 10. The reason being is a brief retcon. See, in my last part, I said Cell would be destroyed, but after reviewing everything I had gone over, I realized the Z-Fighters would have no reason to have found Cell. So it only makes logical sense to say he would still survive, but nobody would even know he really exists. So time goes on, and now with the DNA of the godly Saiyans inside of him, Cell would be born much sooner than before, but still not soon enough to actually save the androids. So perfection seems so far out of his grasp. Although after searching around the universe for a while in some way to potentially become the perfect being, he would have someone who would offer to bring back the missing pieces, to rebuild Cell once again, to give him back the androids, and that person is Babidi. As seen in some of the alternate timelines of the Dragon Ball video games, Babidi can revive people. Now, we don't know exactly how it works, but I suspect it's something like Fortune Teller Baba, although a bit more permanent, as he doesn't exactly abide by the laws of what's right and wrong, what's good and bad when it comes to magic. So, Babidi would be able to give Cell back the androids. Seeing as Shenron could revive 17 and 18, so could Babidi. Although Babidi would tell him that the only way he's getting the androids back is if he does something for him. If Cell gives him enough energy to revive Majin Buu, then it's all even Stevens, and Cell can become perfect or whatever. It doesn't really matter to him. So, Cell would do just that, reviving Majin Buu, although he's a laughingstock in terms of power. But because Cell hasn't gotten the androids yet, he decides to play it nice, not saying anything. Then Babidi, casting a few spells, would revive both 17 and 18, who Cell would lick his lips before then absorbing, and becoming the perfect being. Now Babidi is absolutely terrified. Once again, I don't think he could sense power, but he can very well feel the strength emanating off of Cell. It's godly, it's unlike anything he's felt before, and Babidi would debate even thinking maybe this Cell guy is actually a destroyer. Maybe those two androids were just ways to seal away his power. Maybe he did the wrong thing. Maybe if he reverses time or something, he could actually, but before he's able to finish that thought, Cell would crush his head as if he was stomping on a bug. Then, looking over to Buu and slapping his tail against the ground, before then walking over to the pink blob and asking if he wants to play a game. Buu would attempt to run, sensing the imminent danger that he's in, but Cell wouldn't let him escape. Grabbing Buu by the antenna, Actually, what is that thing on top of Boo's head? I don't know. Grabbing him by the antenna, I'm going with antenna, and then using his tail to absorb the fat blob, drinking him almost like he's a nice cup of pink jello. Then Cell, taking a deep breath in, sensing for powers around the universe, would say,
Yes, I am perfect. I know you can't hear me, but I'm coming for you, Beerus, and there's no way you can run!
Around 8 years have passed since the defeat of Frieza, as well as Gohan's first fight with Beerus. Ever since that point, Gohan and Goku have been training together on Beerus' planet under Whis, although Goku has had some more time training under Beerus specifically, as the Cat God wants to see how far he can push Goku into the realm of the Destroyer. And although Goku doesn't exactly appeal to the idea of becoming a Destroyer God himself, learning the powers of a God of Destruction could be rather interesting. Gohan already has this Ultra Instinct thing going for him, so why doesn't Goku just embrace the opposite, learning the abilities of a Destroyer, paving his own path? Plus, he could use these abilities and make them something of his own, using them to protect those in need. Beerus is a bit shocked by this, using the powers of destruction to defend. It's definitely new, but it's pretty interesting. However, Gohan will be going down a more angelic path, training under Whis to utilize Ultra Instinct, and he's actually able to do it pretty dang well. Seeing as Gohan is a fast learner and has the mindset for it, I feel like after just a year, he'd be able to utilize Ultra Instinct Omen basically at will, as well as mastering it relatively easily. Now, I'm not saying he'd get Master Ultra Instinct or True Ultra Instinct like we see with Goku, but that's only because he'd be focusing on other things as well. If he really put his mind to it, I feel like he'd have even better mastery over the form than even Goku in the current manga. The reason for this being, like I said, his mindset, as well as the fact that his hybrid potential allows him to grow in terms of power far quicker than mostly anybody. This is with the obvious exception of Frieza, but we all know his potential is just, well, basically on crack. With all this in mind, Gohan, under the tutelage of Whis, would basically be able to accomplish anything he sets his mind to. And after a long and arduous 8 years of training with his father, they'd both be able to unlock pretty incredible power. 8 years is no joke, seeing as both Goku and Vegeta only trained under Beerus and Whis, well, mostly Beerus, for a few years before the Tournament of Power even happened, and most of that time wasn't spent actually training with them as they had other family responsibilities. Yeah, sure, Goku and Gohan still have those, but not nearly as much. Gohan would be tutored by some of the most intelligent minds on the planet, so he basically has a college education by the time he's 10, so he'd never go to Orange Star High School, meaning he would probably never meet Videl, so he never falls in love and never has Pan. Granted, I could just shoehorn in some random girl to fit as Videl, but that just doesn't feel right. And as for Goku, he's basically in Vegeta's role here. As long as he's home from time to time to give Bulma whatever she wants in terms of a husband, Goku doesn't really have to be home all that often. Which is a total shame, as the moments that he would be on Earth would be absolutely adorable between him and Bulma, but yeah, really he can spend as much time off planet as he wants. Seeing as this is Goku, he would be training constantly. Not to say he's neglecting his wife or his family, but this is the same guy who went off for like 5 years with Oob, who he barely even knew, and didn't even visit his family like once. So yeah, he's kind of neglecting his family here, which, again, sucks, but he'd be getting really freaking strong. Bulma's never relied on anybody for anything. This is true with Vegeta, so it'd be true for Goku too, and if she ever wants Goku back home, she just has to snap her fingers in one way or another. She'll be able to get him back to Earth lickety-split, don't you worry. But as nice as it is to talk about family stuff in Dragon Ball, if you've seen the last part, you know there's a new threat on the horizon, and he's out for Beerus's blood. Well, more so his energy, but his blood will work too. One day, much like many others, Goku and Gohan would be training on Beerus's planet. Goku using his newfound Hakaioshin form, while Gohan is utilizing Ultra Instinct to the mastered degree. They are both able to achieve these powers somewhere during the midpoint of this 8-year training period, and honestly, by this time, they're not really sure if any new threats will come, or at least any that will actually present a challenge. Both Goku and Gohan have higher forms than the ones they're using now. Although just utilizing the power they're showing off at this very moment, they are still far stronger than Goku or Vegeta from the current manga, so much so it's barely even comparable. Although, much to their shock, far in the distance on the planet, they would sense a high power racing towards them. So high in fact it actually startles them, although maybe, just maybe, this could be the challenge they've been waiting for.
Why, hello, Goku. Gohan. Nice to meet you again. My name is Perfect Cell. I'm here to talk to your master.
Huh, someone's actually looking for Beerus. That's a nice change of pace. Usually it's the other way around. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but right now he's sleeping, so...
Shut your filthy mouth, son of Son Goku. I will get what I came here for, one way or another.
Cell would then send a powerful attack at the tree that Beerus was sleeping in, and then having many other explosions follow this as a domino effect, Beerus would awaken. Looking outside of the hole Cell carved in his tree, the cat god is more than annoyed. He would rush at the intruder asking what he's doing on his planet. Although Cell would respond by saying,
Beerus the Destroyer. Finally. Oh, how I've longed for this day. Your power will be mine, and I will be perfect. Well, that solves that. Saiyans, if any more weaklings come to threaten me, or any of us, please just dispatch of them yourselves. You're far stronger than I was a few years ago, and even I probably could have taken him on then, let alone now. All that to say, next time, don't just stand around talking. Take him out. He wasn't even that strong anyway. I'm going back to sleep.
Now, you, my dear viewer, might be sitting there thinking, what just happened? Did Beerus just take out Cell? Did the entire arc just get ruined? Well, yes, and no, I'm not going to play any Perfect Cell comes back and takes out one of the main character things like with Trunks. Instead, Cell is just gone, and trust me, I have reasoning to back this up. Cell was incredibly powerful. He had the DNA of both Goku, Gohan, Beerus, and really any other fighters that had appeared in this series or in the original series up to this point, aside from the likes of Golden Frieza. So, really, why did Cell get taken out so easily? Well, it's pretty simple. Cell would not have the DNA of Beerus, Goku, or Gohan at their strongest since about, 6 or 7 years ago. During that time, they have been getting much stronger, and only really ever using their full power on Beerus' planet. So now, having gotten to the point where they have long since surpassed even Beerus himself back then, well, Cell didn't really stand a chance. Now, you might expect me to end the story here. I could cover things like the Universe 6 vs 7 tournament, but it'd be rather boring, as Gohan or Goku would just sweep the entire Universe 6 team. The same goes for the Goku Black Arc. It probably wouldn't happen, and if it did, it would probably just go the same as it did originally, seeing as Zamasu would just get as strong as whoever he takes the body of. And with the Tournament of Power, well, that would be laughably easy for Universe 7. So there's not much more to go over. Or is there? See, at the beginning of this video, I set an 8-year time skip. 8 years. 8 years. 8 years of training. Now, what was this meant to accomplish? Yeah, sure, it brought us into the time where Cell would attack and give us a reasonable explanation for how he would actually be fully grown with the God Key inside of him, and it would also give us a reason to say he'd be able to get 17 and 18 because Bobbity could revive them. That's all well and good, but why that extra year? I could just use 7 years instead, bringing us into the normal Buu Saga time. Well, the reason for 8 is because, since Cell would be such an easy obstacle to get around, we would then be smack dab on Battle of Gods, wherein Bulma's birthday is taking place. See, I haven't spent a lot of time talking about the family side of this What If, which feels like a bit of a shame, seeing as with What If Goku married Android 18, I spent a lot of time talking about the family dynamic. So I feel like I should have done the same sort of thing here, although I didn't really feel like it was necessary. Given Bulma's personality, I don't think it'd be super family focused. I think we would probably get the same sort of almost hands-off approach and fatherhood that Vegeta had. Granted, Goku would probably care about his kids more than Vegeta did, at least at first, but it still seems wrong not to have at least a touching ending to this story. So, let me set the scene. It's a fun and jubilant night at the Briefs family residence. Everyone is having a good time, sipping delicious drinks, eating fabulous food. Everyone there is having the time of their lives, and nothing could ever ruin this night. And nothing will. And as Beerus looks at Goku for one more rematch just to end the night off with a bang, Goku would look to his wife, look to his son, look to his other son, who I have not covered all in this What If, and to all of his friends, and then back at Bulma, and say no. Maybe tomorrow, but no. Tonight's about family, so maybe another time. And Beerus is a bit shocked by this, and Bulma is definitely taken aback. She's generally surprised her husband actually denied a fight for her. It's touching, but she would look to Goku and say, "That's really sweet, but don't stop the fun on my account. Go up there and give everyone here the best fireworks show that they have ever seen. Go light up the night sky like you always do and make your wife proud." Then as Goku wraps her up in his embrace, he would let her go, powering up into his Akaishin form. As Beerus does the same, the two would rush up into the sky and begin clashing blows harder than the two have ever done before. And then, eagerly looking to his mother for approval, Bulma would wave him off, and Gohan would transform into his Master Ultra Instinct, as well as activating Super Saiyan Rage on top. Then, rushing at Whis, the two would begin trading blows as well. Gohan, a mortal who has actually managed to reach the level of the angels. Truly, a sight for the ages. But back down on Earth, Trunks is feeling rather left out. His father, his brother, they've gotten so strong. How could he ever reach the same level? Although the Supreme Kai would approach him, saying that maybe he could show him the ropes. Get him some training that not even the two of them have had. Yeah, it won't be a super easy shortcut or anything, but it'll at least be a start. Maybe Trunks could even pull out the Z-Sword. Get some pretty good training in with that. But no matter what route Trunks chooses to go down, he will always have his family's love and support with him throughout the entire journey. But no matter what bullet is shot at the group, they'll be able to dodge it. Whatever hurdle is thrown in the family's way, they'll get over it. That's the way Dragon Ball works, and that's the way this story ends. And that is where we'll be closing the book on this story. I hope you all enjoyed watching this, as I certainly enjoyed making it, and if you could please like the video, subscribe to the page, and hit the notification bell, that way you're notified whenever I release any new videos. If you haven't already, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you all so very much for watching. This is, always has been, and always will be the Irishman. Talk to you later. Bye.